sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We also have two other familiar regular faces on Good Morning Nigeria, and do join me and to welcome Hajuri Ngelale, SSA to the President and Public Affairs. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria, Ngele.
Always a privilege. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, we also have joined us, but this time from our Ibadan studio, Lee Akinsijo. He's a familiar face and investment analyst. Mr. Akinsijo, thank you for joining us and compliment of the season to you.
It's my pleasure to be here with you. Happy New Year to all Nigerians.
Yeah, of course, indeed, compliments of the season to I guess here in the studio. Yes, okay. Yusuf.
In the background, it was all about the Minister and 774 Special Public Works. Now, this can be a very good news for Nigerians. This New Year 2021, having to get this started at the beginning of the year, and of course, it's all about a chunk of Nigerians, 774,000, 1,000 of them across every local government. What does it entail?
It's an employment-intensive technique that the federal government has adopted. It has some historical antecedents also, though. This kind of program was adopted during what they call the Great Depression of those days, period where a lot of people were thrown out of work, and also during the time of famine, where you have droughts in Africa and some parts of the world in those days. So what governments did in those days was that during this period of droughts, the people who were, supposed to be at the farms and working, and who could not, go to the farms, the government cleared all of them from the streets and used them to do some kind of community service, maintenance of public infrastructure, and they were paid stipends for them to survive until the rains came back and they could go back to the farms. So this is the kind of historical antecedent that this kind of program had. So it was adopted over the years by countries like India, Bangladesh, China. These were some of the tools they used to fight poverty. At the point, India was at the bottom of the rung in terms of the poorest countries in the world. But this is one of the major tools that India also used to fight poverty and came out of the bottom of the rung. So Nigeria has also adopted it. The president, first of all, approved a pilot scheme. The pilot scheme was to be done in 8 states and 5 local governments in all those states, not even all the local governments in the 8 states. We started off in February, but we could not finish up the pilot scheme until the pandemic came. So when the COVID-19 pandemic came and its ravaging social economic effect on Nigerians, the president, being a very empathetic president, thought that we could expand this scheme. In fact, he directed that they should expand this scheme under the Economic Sustainability Plan as a direct response to the COVID-19 challenge, that they should extend it, that we should extend it to all the 36 states and the FCT and all the local governments in the country. And that's why it is called the Extended Special Public Works Program. And so now, the entire local governments in the country, 774 local governments are beneficiaries of this scheme, and 1,000 persons per local government are beneficiaries of this scheme. Basic thing is that these 1,000 persons are available in the next 3 months to all the levels of government. So it is not only federal government infrastructure, even though federal government is the one hiring the persons. But the president directed us that we should collaborate with different levels of government. So even state governments that have public infrastructure to maintain, the people are available to them to be used. Local governments that have infrastructure to maintain, they are available for them to use. So we have made wide contact with other levels of government. There are some local governments, for example, that want to maintain their schools. Some want to change the roof in their schools. Some say they want to paint their schools. They said, okay, they will provide the materials. So we have saved them some money in terms of monies they pay, the painters and the workmanship they pay. They said they'll provide the paints, provide the brushes. These 1,000 persons, for this period, they'll use them to paint all their primary schools and give them a facelift at the local government level. That's even federal infrastructure. So when I see headlines where they say they are hiring people to go and clear gutters, I said this is the height of mischief, and we have corrected them over and over in the last 3 months, and they keep repeating those headlines that Buhari has hired people to go and clear gutters for 3 months. That is it. Clearing of gutters may just be one of the several, community service that will be rendered in the next 3 months. Each local government has its own unique needs. So we have allowed every local government to determine what they want to use the 1,000 persons for. They have the exclusive right to say, look, this is our problem here. In an urban area like Lagos, very urban area, you're not going to be clearing bushes like some other rural areas will do. They will clear the bushes and all that. They may do traffic control in Lagos.
You said this is an employment intensive scheme.
Yes.
And I just would want to ask, how do you mean? Are you intending to engage them? Is it a permanent thing? Because from what I've heard so far, it's transient. You've used the word transient. So, which means it's not permanent. And I'm also wondering if it is part of government plans to cushion the impact specifically of COVID-19 on this class of people.
Well, yes, but it is two-pronged. Apart from the fact that you are cushioning the effect of COVID-19, you are rushing immediate succor to the grassroots, because this is a direct, immediate response. COVID-19 came suddenly. People did not expect it. Businesses were affected. People who depend on daily pay, they were the ones who were most affected. Most of us, you have some small savings. Those who don't have savings, they are the ones who go out every day with shovels and hoses. You see them along Maraba Highway. They wait every morning. They don't know where to go. They will just be waiting for people to come and say, oh, there's a site where we need to clear. They are carrying concrete in one place. Follow us. And they go, they work for that day, and they must be paid that day, not the next day, because they depend on that money that day to go back home and feed their children. That's how bad it is for them at that level. So government, this was an immediate response. So say, look, government says, let us rush succor to them at the grassroots. But at the same time, instead of us dashing them money, just giving them as gift, let us also use them to maintain public infrastructure. Now, you ask whether, the 3 month period, how it will, how much impact it will have on them and all of that. 60,000 naira is a lot for those people at that level.
Spread over 3 months.
Yes, 20,000 naira every month for 3 months.
Which is not up to minimum wage.
No, it is not a regular employment in the context of the Minimum Wage Act. So that is what the distinction you must make. It's not a regular employment. It's just a temporary engagement. And even the engagement may not be the 8 to 4 kind of employment that you envisage under the Minimum Wage Act. They may work for 2-3 hours every day and then go back to their regular routine for the day.
Okay.
So you cannot calculate it in terms of the Minimum Wage Act. Again, this will put money in their pocket. Employment in this context is not the kind of employment where you expect that people will have letters of employment to come and work for 35 years or 30 years and get retired. For us at the Ministry of Labour, employment also means skilling up the population. In fact, that is even the best way we want to get employment to the grassroots. You want to skill up the population, and you want to also empower small businesses, the micro, small, and businesses. You want to give them money to expand their business. That is employment.
Okay, let's put you on hold. Ajuri, I don't know what the current unemployment statistics we have at the moment, because again, these are the unskilled people who earn daily, make daily earnings. They may also fall within the class of unemployed, right. If you agree with me. So, if we're taking out 774,000, how much impact do you think this will have on our employment unemployment statistics?
It's really a very important question. I think, first of all, we have to put this in context, appreciating that this is one out of several measures that are being undertaken by the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari to counter the negative economic impacts brought by COVID-19, particularly under the economic sustainability plan that is now in implementation. First of all, when we talk about the Special Public Works Program, as the Honorable Minister has clearly articulated, there's quite a number of facets to it. I think it's really very important to also note that the way the program has been structured, it has been structured in a manner that takes into account all of the requirements and needs of the other sectors. So, for example, when we talk about agriculture, what is one of their major problems? Transport and logistics. Farmers are complaining that they cannot get goods to market without having many of their goods spoiled because of inadequate infrastructure. So what does this program do to deal with that? You're now putting our young people, very virile, vibrant young people with strength, giving them the tools they need to be able to reconstruct, in many cases rehabilitate these rural feeder roads, linking strategic farms to strategic markets. If you look at another sector like environment, for example, where in 2019, I believe it was, in 2019 when His Excellency Mr. President attended a UN climate summit where he pledged to the international community that Nigeria will plant 25 million trees across the nation. Now you're seeing our young people, as part of this program, also being involved in working on orchards and planting trees. So all of the various sectors, the needs of the various sectors are being taken into account within this program. It's not just a random, employment program where we want to just engage people. No, we want to engage people within the larger context of what we need to achieve to develop an inclusive economy that works for all people across all sectors. And I think the other point to mention here is, in as much as that is how the Special Public Works Program is structured, it's important to note that there are other programs under the Economic Sustainability Plan that is dealing with the issue of unemployment.
I want us to look at this. It's a very laudable, poverty alleviation measure, right. Given, of course, the success rate in the climes where they have been applied. Mm-hmm. But I am looking at the deepening of it and its impact vis-a-vis our employment ban.
Well, that's where I want to. That's exactly where I'm going to. You see, when you look at, for example, how when you're upskilling young people, you're giving them skills, you're giving them tools, and of course there's capital they're taking from it as well. It's very similar, not the same, of course, but very similar to what we did with the 500,000 on Empower, which the president has recently and very graciously approved the expansion to 1 million. Is you're giving these young people an opportunity to start their own micro and small enterprises. And that's really very crucial. I think when we look at the unemployment rate in the country today, one of the conversations I don't think is being had enough in the public domain is the fact that our National Bureau of Statistics and the reports we have on unemployment still do not take into cognizance tens of millions of Nigerians who are operating their own MSMEs in rural communities, in market squares, people who are running stalls in markets, and shops across the country. Many of these individuals are operating well above the poverty line, which is of course $1 a day. Imagine 500 naira a day. You extrapolate that over the course of a month, you're looking at about 15,000 naira. Many of our informal economic actors are making much more than 15,000 naira in a month, but they're being quantified and calculated as unemployed Nigerians. That's something that has to be addressed. I think if we can dimension that properly, we would have a much clearer picture as to what the unemployment rate is. But the last point I want to make is, aside from Special Public Works Program and Economic Sustainability Plan, you also have what we just launched last week, the National Social Housing Program, where we're going to build 300,000 homes, creating 1.8 million direct jobs for young Nigerians in the construction subsector, engineers, artisans, carpenters, electricians, quantity surveyors, accountants, etc.
Yes,
Ajuri, you've made some valid points here, and I guess Nia Kinsuju really want to respond to that. And in addition to even what you said, talking about the economic sustainability part of the FJ, and of course the not all-inclusiveness of the NBS statistics, talking about those that are going to be concerned. Nia, let's look at these statistics very well. The Honorable Minister said It's all about those who don't have anything doing specifically per se as running or having some income per day. Rather, they depend on the day for what they are going to get. And these are the ones that are going to be mopped up the street and then be given something to do at least for the next 3 months. And they will be given some stipends at the end of every month, I guess, the minister?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when you look at this, these are people that really need something daily. And these are the ones that are not being captured so much exactly in the NBA statistics most of the time because they are very much,
Informal.
very common and on the streets. What do you see, how do you see this playing into the Nigerian, economy and having to move it forward since we're now going to have them included in the whole, job system and, of course, skill provision mechanism of the government?
Thank you very much. I think we also need to also background this. First, I appreciate the backgrounding provided by the Honorable Minister there, but we can also extend that backgrounding to also note that this is actually one of the standard recommendations by the World Bank to address issues of unemployment and most importantly issues of extreme poverty. At the time when the economy is seen or observed to be in a state of doldrum, there's a need to have what is an equivalent of a jab to the hands, to the hams of that economy. So essentially, a program like this, which normally called a program of public work public work of good nature, it's a temporary measure to provide liquidity into the economy. And the whole idea is to stimulate the economy in a way that it will have a multiplier effect, on economic activities in that environment. Essentially speaking, when you provide a kind of fiscal support to unemployed people, what you are doing in the first instance is to transform them into economic entities, because yes, there are some who go with pans and shovels looking for job every morning, and sometimes, and perhaps even most often, they don't even get employed for those particular hours of the day, and they go home empty-handed. And essentially, these are also household leaders, heads of households, in some cases. So in economic terms, the most important element in an economy is the household. So where the head of the household who provides money, is unemployed and cannot, consistently provide such, it does not only impact negatively on the well-being of that household, but it also translates to a reduction in the momentum of economic activities in the larger economic space. So by empowering, even if it's for a given period, that household, what you are doing is to create a new energy around that household, a new economic energy. And this economic energy transforms that household into an economic entity. So for me, we are going to have something near a 50 billion naira injection into the economy over the next 3 months. Now, what that translates to is that at the basic level, at the local government level, you are increasing transaction values and volumes. And of course, what that means is that you are providing people with this 20,000 naira to be able to set off transactions, buying and selling. The rice seller, the rice vendor on the corner, the pepper vendor on the corner, the retailer, the mineral seller, the soft drink seller, and all that get to have a boost, in what they sell, demands for what they sell. Now, what that translates to is a move out, in the inventory of manufacturers. So the more you have people buying things, at the local level, in the market, as it were, it translates to a move out, a reduction in inventories of manufacturers. Now, many manufacturer concerns will tell you that if there's no money, if there's no liquidity in the economy, it has a negative impact on their inventory. And the earlier inventory move out, the earlier goods move out of the warehouses of manufacturers, of course, the faster, the profits and capital are accumulated. Now, what this translates to eventually is that the more inventories are moved out, the more production capacity are likely to increase, all things being equal, and when production capacity increases, the likelihood that there would also be employment creation, in pari passu with production increase, as it were. So for me, it's a whole universe being created, One, you increase demand for products and services at that local level. By doing that, you are also increasing the capacity of the companies producing these products and services, to produce more. And as they are producing more, it also means that there will also be a need for them to employ more people to engage the machines and other resources of production in a way that eventually you will not just have those 774,000 just being engaged. At the end of the day, there is likely to be more jobs opportunities created from this particular program, as it were.
Akinsijo, thank you. I didn't expect anything lower from you. You have looked at it from, as usual, the financial perspective, looking at what this, would mean for our economy. And I liked your terminology, what we're going to intend to make out of the beneficiaries. You said they are economic entities, which, of course, like Ajuri said, whether they are they become self-reliant and all that. That's very, very interesting. Thank you, Nii. So
it's important to just
yes, I was just
point out,
yeah.
just to add and more information to what my brother Ajuri said, that the entire economic sustainability plan is not just this 50 billion, 52
Precisely.
billion. There is a total 2.3 trillion package under that plan.
We are aware of that.
Yeah, so it's important Nigerians know.
No, we are aware of
that. The president was that, empathetic.
Honorable Minister, you see, when we look at this whole issue, and we have very limited time for this program, I wish it's going to be maybe about 2 hours for us to talk about it. Unfortunately, we do not have much time to do that. But let's hit it, all right? When you mentioned, mopping up, those on the streets, and of course, Nia Akinsijo just said, households, really, which is very important. Empowering the household really empowers the family, and by extension, the community. And there we go. It goes and grows and grows. 20,000 naira, right? Monthly for 3 months, okay? And these are people that hardly, when they go out every morning, they get what they would eat for that day, and then eat it up. Next day, they go out for the next day. How is it going to be 20,000 naira monthly on the start, or monthly at the end of the month? Or how is it going to be? Because these are people that don't have savings. They don't have anything on the ground. When you say maybe at the end of 30 days, then what's going to happen before the 30 days? How is it going to be?
Well, there's no hard and fast rule about that. The implementing agency that I supervise, we could sit down and talk about that. But then normally, if people work before they get paid, so at times you pay them, they won't work, they'll just walk away. So we expect that they do some kind of work before they get paid. But like I told you, it's not a full-time engagement. They may have the freedom to still do a bit of their work every day too, because the community service may not take the whole day. That person may take half of the day, and they may have time to do some other things. But just to graphically explain something, to add to what Nii said, for example, a grinding machine. Somebody just told me yesterday that a grinding machine that they used to grind beans and pepper and all that women, you see some women put display, in front of their shops, sell for about 40,000, 40,000 naira, and I was shocked. And do you know that many households, especially women who are caregivers, who manage money more than we men, they send their children to school, they feed their children with that machine in front of their homes. With that machine, with that grinding machine in front of their home. That is how much I've done this graphic explanation for people to understand how 60,000 naira, what it means to people at the rural level, and how much capital it can be to them.
There's no question about the impact that the stipends, we call it stipends, but to them it's not stipend. Yes, we are aware. We also know what the 5,000 naira cash transfers does to the households. Yes. But the concern with initiatives like this is usually hinged on transparency, accountability, and the issue of corruption. I know you've been talking about the selection process and the committees that you have set aside. I listened to you yesterday. You talked about the constitution of the committees, traditional rulers, civil society, market groups, and all that, religious leaders, and all that. But can we rule out the fact that these people are politically dispassionate and bipartisan and devoid of corrupt tendencies in terms of ensuring that those who are, supposed to get this, benefit, it's spread across and is deep? Can we do like that?
Let me first of all make an admission that in a program as wide as this, as elaborate as this, we're talking of 774,000 Nigerians, you will not have a perfect system. What you can do as supervising minister, as the one on whose table the buck stops on this issue, is to do your best as much as possible to set parameters that can guide the process in such a way that it will be, almost flawless.
Because I hear some executives are already having a number of forms allocated to them. Some lawmakers are having a number of forms allocated to them. I don't know if you read that. I in the course of my research, I've seen that. You now have a case where these members of this committee have forms allocated to them for them to give to those who are loyal.
I think it's very important for us to be able to differentiate very quickly that when you talk about how recruitment processes are being undertaken. We're talking about corruption here. That's what you mentioned. And it's really important to note that across all of our programs, whether it's N-Power, whether it's Trader Money, whether it's the Special Public Works program, we were very, very intentional across all these programs to leverage on financial technology to make sure that this money goes directly from source to the accounts of those who are going to be engaged.
It's not even the money.
That is not the money.
I'm just talking about one part of it.
That is cleared. That is cleared.
Yes.
It's what I want to answer. Just wait, hold on. That's what I want to answer. The other one is clear. I mean, President Muhammad Buhari, one couple cannot get missing.
No, it's not.
It's other beef. It's not the money, Aju.
It's not the money.
It's the beef. Everybody's paid by.
It's for the viewer.
Everybody's paid by BVN. We have gone through a rigorous prayer. We've opened an account.
Absolutely.
So one couple cannot get missed under President Muhammad Buhari.
Exactly.
We're talking about the selection process, which is what I want to respond to.
Yes.
Like I said, I want to be honest before Nigerians. You can't select 774,000 persons and then you micromanage every selection. As minister, it's not going to happen. As minister, what you're expected to do is to set the parameters. Now, what are the parameters? I've said, look, in those local selection committees, you have the head of CAN, the leader of Christian Association of Nigeria in the states. You have the leader of the Muslim Association in the states. You have the market leader in the states. You have the National Union of Road Transport Workers. You have the traditional rulers there, who are there. You have the civil society organizations who are there. Now, if the local people don't have access to make their case for inclusion to the Christian leader, to the Muslim leader, to the head of what they call the Agberos, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, to the market leader, if they don't have access to this, who will they have access to again? So I have done my best. We have done our best to set these parameters. To say, well, these are people, local leaders we know that can inspire confidence, that people can have confidence in at the local level. What more? If you have any suggestion, give me here. These are the people that people go to church every day and they see their pastors. They go to mosque, they see their imams. These are the people we involved in the selection process. So after these people, who else? So at that stage, you have done your best. You can now pray that God should guide them too, and make sure that they also buy in. I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's true.
So you cannot at that level. You can go and micromanage. The person that at the local government, someone of the four, micromanage who they are selecting at the local government level. You have only set the parameters.
Okay, let me ask you.
That is what we have done.
The ones we
now,
did yesterday.
but to a large extent, thankfully, to a large extent, there were no complaints. Of course, there are one or two.
The ones we did yesterday, I'm sure you supervise the beneficiaries here in Abuja. Can you beat your chest to say, yes, these are the beneficiaries, deserving beneficiaries? Because the ones
make it clear to you.
They don't appear, they look robust.
No, let me make it clear to you first of all that it is wholly not a program that is 100% for itinerant workers. The president said we should collaborate with other ministries that also would like to buy into the program. So what did we do? We set aside a small number of those who are educated, who can read and write, who will supervise them. Don't forget that they need supervisors. Instead of us, that's what I tried to do to also manage the budget. Instead of us to now go and get outside the 1,000 persons to go and recruit supervisors to supervise the work. I said no as minister. If I cancelled that part of the budget and saved about 500 and something million there to go and hire supervisors. I said out of the 1,000 persons, let us get supervisors amongst them. So what we did was to say, okay, people who are unemployed, young graduates who are unemployed, who can read and write, who can supervise them, we set aside about 150 per local government. The National Population Commission also required that they needed some of these 1,000 persons for demographic survey in the last 3 months, for the next 3 months. So for National Population Commission, they won't use itinerant workers, those who cannot read and write. So we set aside a certain number for the National Population Commission too. The NBS, they were just talking about the National Bureau of Statistics. NBS also came to us and said they needed about 50 persons each from every local government to carry out surveys for the NBS. Out of the 1,000 persons within these 3 months. So we set aside some educated persons for the MBS, specifically for the MBS and the MPC. Within the 1,000 persons, it's social work they want. So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wish we have more time to talk about. There's so many.
There are so many issues in there.
Yes.
So right.
And when we got the information that we'll have this discussion. I actually put a personal call to some people from my, because I'm in Nigeria and I come from different states. I told you I was in Rivers. So I put a call to some people. But the awareness, they were shocked that such recruitment had already been done.
Well, there's no doubt that I think when you have this fixation, I think in the larger public domain on issues like, the headline will be National Assembly versus Festus Keyamo. That's the headline. And they're not focused in on the nuts and bolts of the program, how
awareness.
It works. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Is when we have an opportunity to make people aware using media platforms and even direct engagement, what often happens is we fixate on some of these other more sensational issues around the program as opposed to the issues that matter to those who will be participating. How do you get involved? How do you register? How does the recruitment process work? I think that's been one of the challenges. But aside that, if you look at the level of interest and participation that we've seen, I'm on every day, it's 4 or 5 radio stations across the country engaging with people on the Special Public Works program and other programs. People are more aware than we think they are. I think the challenge we have is making sure that they have confidence in the implementation of the program so that whether the program is extended, because you're talking about maybe potentially the issue of whether there's longevity. We don't yet know the final answer to that question, but we do know that it's possible that 1, it could be extended. Number 2, it could be an annual affair. And we also know that it's very possible because the private sector is watching. They know these young people have been upskilled. They know they now have capacity to be able to do things within the private sector. They can be employed. And then the final option, of course, is that if you look at batch A and B of N-Power, out of the 500,000, 100,000 have started their own micro enterprises. So why can't these young people within the Special Public Works program do the same? So we're quite optimistic, given the industrious nature of Nigerians, given their willingness to work very hard, that our young people are going to make the most of the opportunity and run with it.
Right.
Thank you so much, Ajuri. Let's cross over to Nia Kinsuju finally on this program. Encapsulated in your parting, thoughts for this program. Let's hear you talk to us about how, sustainable could this program be? Just briefly, we have very few minutes remaining on this program, this segment of the program.
Well, as a poverty engagement program, I think it's sustainable. It's sustainable to the extent that, one, we need to first commend the administration, the president and his administration, for being conscientious about, one, acknowledging the needs of the poor in Nigeria, and secondly, creating avenues to circle out the Nigerian poor. Various governments that we have understudied had more or less given just lip service to addressing the issue of poverty. If we are able to do this every year, for instance, we can be sure that we will not just be expanding the economy, we'll be increasing our GDP. As we increase our GDP, it is automatic. As we increase our GDP and we have more economic activities, more employment opportunities will be created, more jobs will be created, more people will be engaged. So it's principally about focusing on the people, away from targeting what we call job for the boys. They are two different things. So I think this is commendable. 774,000 Nigerians out of employment temporarily for the next 3 months. It's commendable. Yes. We may see it as a short-term thing, but I am saying that within it is an organic probability of extending and widening the economic scope.
Very much, Nia Kinsuju. Thank you for joining us on this topic and this program this morning. Finally, Minister, your parting thoughts, please, briefly.
Yes, I'd just like to ask, this initiative, usually, if you look at the success template, it's very effective. And but you have said this is like a pilot stage.
So the pilot stage was over. It's been over. Okay, so this is the extended. This is extended special public works.
Okay, so would you consider sustaining it, like Niyi is saying, maybe elongating it, making it, an annual?
That will be the decision of the president, but it depends on the success
that
we achieve in the next 3 months.
Yes,
it has to depend on the success we achieve in the next 3 months and the effect we see that it has on public infrastructure and also on the economy. I would, of course, be recommending if we have achieved some huge success. Like I said, there's always been a tool to fight poverty, and in the past, we have to make this point as a parting statement. We have to make this point that in the history of Nigeria, no government has thought of engaging the very bottom of the rung in terms of hierarchy of workers in Nigeria. That is the very bottom of the bottom. No government has thought of sweeping them off the feet, off the street in a massive, way, comprehensive and massive way like this. 1,000 per local government is a lot. At that level, we're not talking of young graduates. Most programs in the past have addressed young graduates, skilled workers and all of that. But unskilled laborers, no government has addressed their problems as much as this problem with this, government with this program. And all thanks to President Muhammad Buhari. And before we finish, I must thank the president openly for giving us all the support to make sure that this program begins. And all the hiccups and problems we faced. But the president has been extremely wonderful. He gave us all the support till this minute for us to begin.
At the end of the 3 months, we'll have you here again.
Absolutely.
I don't even think it should be at the end of the 3 months. It should be much earlier.
As we go on.
As you go on, so that we keep appraising the progress.
We want to get the minister's commitment. All right.
Many thanks, Festus Kiamu, for joining us this morning. And of course, Ajuri Ngerade, it's our pleasure being here this morning on this topic. You two will need to have more of you on this issue because, as I said earlier on, we should be having much bigger time, really, to discuss this issue because Nigerians are interested in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kiseji, it's our pleasure. We thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the first part of this program. Now, we take a break, and then we'll be back in a moment after the break for the continuation of the conversation on the entertainment industry. Please stay with us.
You fit to do anything with the number. Everything is in no long thing with 444. No, there's scatter your brain with plenty numbers. I bet you daddy number 444. Ọ̀rẹ́ mi máa lọ fọ́, ó jẹ́ sáré lọ 444. Mo ní máa fọ́, máa lọ gọ̀. Control code dey your hand. 444, 4 mẹ́ta is a mẹ́ta. you do. You can use the number. Oh, yo,
Airtel, the smartphone network.
My name is Nandom Jamda Muhammad.
Stevita
Hussein Musa.
Goduna Joel Finji.
Said Musa John. I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now. And I said that plantain. Nakai Chimami Shekara Uku.
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
Ina wannan sana'ar lemu ne domin Najeriya ta ci gaba.
Ina sa domin Najeriya ta kyau.
And you can see how we're doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Ina zaune ne a Plateau na business. Kuma ina yin wannan domin ci gaban ƙasar Najeriya.
For a better Nigeria. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
For over 70 years, we've practiced healthy hygiene habits together. The world needs us.